What I have before you tonight to show you is many, many good things. You hear a lot of bad news, and there's not all good news I can share with you, but for a city, crime, police, safety, we really are very proud of some of the things that we have to share with you tonight. If you take a look at that, when we say Group A crimes, that's our serious crimes. In 2017, we were down just a little bit, but that's the lowest number we've had in 39 years, going back to 1978. And it's a 39% decrease since 2008. That means 1,606 fewer bad things happened in 2017. Burglaries, one of the things you care probably most about. Last year was the lowest total in our city's 44-year history. You can see that graph, how it's been going down each year. It was down 16% last year. Sexual assaults, down 43%. I always like to point out that when we have these, that when you look at them for every year, about 95% of the sexual assaults are people who know one another. That doesn't make them okay or good, just that when you think about stranger sexual assaults, they rarely ever happen in our city. Larceny from autos, this was really a good one because we had a little bit of a spike over some of the years recently. 346 car larceny from autos last year, down 16%. Our historical average is 669, and way back in 1994 we had 1,102, so we're doing pretty good. You need to keep those cars locked. Twice this week I've seen subdivisions where we've had somebody walking around at night going through unlocked cars, getting laptops and different things out of cars, so please keep them locked. Armed robberies last year is the 5th lowest total in our 44-year history. But they were up 78%. Now, it's hard to figure this. I believe as I'm standing before you tonight, so far this year we've had 2 armed robberies. And that's incredibly low. As a matter of fact, it's a good opportunity. I'm talking about 2017, so I shouldn't get too excited because this year's not over yet. But almost every one of these crime categories may be at an all-time low. So we're really experiencing a significant decrease this year. And we've only had a couple of armed robberies, which would be just incredible. You can see years back, many years ago at the top of that spike where we had over 45 armed robberies in a year. So very, very good news. Auto thefts. Last year was the third lowest total in our 44-year history. Was up just a little bit, but you can see that many years ago we used to have, actually if you go past the chart that doesn't exist back when I was a young officer, we used to have 500 or 600 auto thefts a year. This particular year that we're in right now, again, I don't want to jinx this, so I won't toss out a number, but I think we're going to hit the lowest ever in our history again for stolen cars. So that's good news. Homicides, we average about 1 a year. Our 10-year average, you can see there, is 0.8, so we're looking at about 1 a year. A couple of the homicide last year was a domestic situation in which a mother was pushed out her window. That case is coming up for trial starting in the near future. Last year, we identified, when I was a young officer, we had a homicide. A young woman was found on the side of 696, and we couldn't identify her for years and years and years. And last year, we were able to identify her. Her name is Darlene Renee McKenzie. She was a teenager that was missing from Detroit, and that's her family on the bottom left. As a matter of fact, that's her mother in the blue suit sitting in the chair there. So we're very grateful that we could identify and at least provide some clues as to what happened. And so there's a couple of little suspects, some follow-up that I can't share with you tonight, but we were grateful to be able to identify a case. Danielle Stizlicki investigation last year, many of you are familiar with that because of all the news attention that it received. As a matter of fact, we're meeting with the family regularly. We talk to them, and we're really putting together what I think is a very, very good case. One of the most satisfying things, although we haven't got a warrant or solved the Stizlicki case officially on record, the work that our detectives and evidence technicians did on this case led to the recovery of some DNA evidence, which we gave the Livonia Police Department, which resulted in a conviction of a rapist who attempted to strangle and murder a jogger in Hines Park. So the perpetrator is currently in custody in prison. I think he got about 30 years roughly, if I'm remembering correctly. So that was a positive outcome, and the family felt very good about that. Just for fun, if you kind of look at some things over the last 30 years, I'm not going to read them all to you, but you can look and just see some of the significant crime categories and the drops that we've had over the years. Safe city thing, just for fun, if you want to look over on the left side of the screen with me, You can see that property crime was down 32%, but you can see the bar on the far left is Farmington Hills. The next bar next to it, going to your right, is Michigan, and you can look at nationally where we stand in property crimes. If you look over to the right side of the screen for violent crime, it's even more impressive. You can see the little bar is Farmington Hills. The next bar is the average for Michigan, and the next bar is the national average. So you can see whether it's property or violent crime per 100,000 people, how we stack up to the rest of the state and the rest of the country. We're doing very well. And sometimes if you think about that, I try to put it into perspective, because I don't feel like I'm chief of like the biggest, hugest city in Michigan. But actually, believe it or not, Farmington Hills has the 11th largest city police department in the state of Michigan. And then if you say, well, is Farmington Hills really that big? In the rank of the city rankings, we're actually the 14th largest city in the state of Michigan. So if you think about all the freeway miles that we have, and high schools and colleges and different things for the size of our city, the statistics are really, really remarkable. There's about 7 or 8 different research companies that do crime data. I start to get a little, how do I present them, because they all look a little differently because they use different weights and measures, so they're all slightly different. But no matter how you stack it up, we're ranked, no matter which of the ranking companies. This company right here has us ranked as 3rd safest city in Michigan. Just for fun, this is something we should all be proud of as Farmington Hills residents. Farmington Hills was named the best place to live in Michigan in 2017, and you can see all the check marks on the left, and my favorite, of course, as police chief, is the top check mark that says safety. Best city to raise kids, Farmington Hills, ranked 43rd in the nation, 3rd in Michigan, based on my favorite crime rates. Traffic crashes, we'll take a little look at that. If you wonder how many crashes we have, this counts everything. 3,102, that's how many vehicle crashes, private property, on roads, wherever, that we had last year in the city. Fatalities, we had 2. And interesting trends the last 2 years. If you go back 2 years ago, we had 5 fatalities, and 4 of the 5 were motorcycles. And this past year, both the fatalities we had in 2017 were pedestrians. On February, a woman was struck crossing 12 Mile in Hagerty, and 12 Mile in Farmington is the accident on the right. It was a pedestrian on a bicycle. Dispatch runs. Farmington Hills operates the largest city-run public safety answering point dispatch center in Oakland County. We do some dispatching in for Farmington and Franklin as well. Their loads are not that big compared to ours. If you look at the top left box, over 46,000 dispatch runs. The number of calls are incredible. Almost 42,000 times a year we get a 911 call in our dispatch center. So very, very busy. And over in a 24-hour period, just for Farmington Hills, we have over 100 911 calls in a 24-hour period. Isn't it amazing what happens when you don't see it? You're in your home and I don't hear a siren, I didn't see a police car. You go to bed at night and say, I don't think anything happened, did it? And somewhere it is. Some just numbers of interest. You can see arrests, that the department arrests over 2,600 people a year. Drunk driving arrests, about 200 drunk driving arrests a year. Suicide awareness for everybody. Mental health continues to be one of the most worrisome things. As a police chief, I worry more about mental health than I do crime. You know, you're seeing a lot of impressive things about crime here. If you look at the number of adult suicides last year, we had 6, 80 people for threatening suicide attempts, 37 for teens, 0 suicide, 24 attempts, or threats, I'm sorry, and attempts 14. The total petitions, the number on the bottom, 282 times. That means 282 times Farmington Hills police officers went on some kind of a run, and we wound up, before we left, committing someone for mental health treatment. So it's one of the biggest concerns we have. And actually the suicide number is down quite a bit. We've been running in recent years about 12 to 18 suicides a year. So that it was good to see that number down a little bit. And the Safe Softball Tournament is just a community coming together for suicide awareness for everyone, an organization that we have in the city, promoting awareness and resources. OAKTAC, just to tell you briefly what this is, to tell you about our preparation, is Farmington Hills and Troy and a couple departments are really leaders in the county for OAKTAC. It's a tactical consortium for the whole county where we share resources, and we're prepared to come together if we have any kind of serious incidents or active shooters. We have all the police officers in the county going through the same training. So if we have an active shooter in Farmington Hills, officers from Southfield or Novi or Farmington can come into our city, and we're all doing things the same. So we all train together. We award 3 Officer of the Year awards during the year. Officer Larry Hernandez received one of the awards for arresting persons for doing larceny from vehicles, carrying a pistol, and life-saving. Officer Sion is a 5-year veteran, received an award from the American Legion for life-saving citations, unit citations. Some outstanding officers, Lieutenant John Piggott for involvement in leadership in an honor guard and various things, arrest of a person for an armed robbery. Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, we're very proud that almost every year we have officers recognized by MAD at a banquet, and Officer Meister in the middle is a 12-year winner, and Officer Edgel and Officer West last year were recognized. Citations and awards, the department gave out many last year. You can look at some of the numbers there. We're also proud to award 10 civilian awards and citation to residents. This is officers who received recognition from Novi. They had an armed robbery at Burger King, and the perpetrator was armed on a bus, and our officers stopped the bus and disarmed the man with a pistol. We're proud that all the members of the command staff go through special training. These are 2 of our sergeants who went through a 10-week program through Northwestern University called Police School of Staff and Command. Officer Jennifer Sauer, very proud of her. She was the non-commissioned Officer of the Year for the Air National Guard. We're very proud. We have several military veterans serving the department. Last year was the first full calendar year that Farmington Hills police officers carried Narcan for persons who had overdosed on opioids, and we had many cases of people slumped over wheels. We had a mother and son both overdosed on heroin in the restroom of a drugstore, and 94 incidents, 79 patients. And the reason the patients are lower than the number is because some patients it was more than once. If you're wondering if it's men or women, 65% are males, average age is 39 years, and heroin continues to be the most popular drug. You know, for $10 a day, a heroin addict can supply their habit. Overdose detection mapping, we're one of the first couple police departments in Michigan that's doing this. We're tracking where all the overdoses are, and as a matter of fact, just before I came over here tonight, about an hour ago, I was reading an update from our detective section, and one of the deaths we had from overdoses of heroin, the person just pled guilty actually, who purchased the heroin and pushed the needle. So we're had a few cases where we're charging the people that are buying and responsible for some of these deaths. Several promotions in the department last year. Several new police officers. I'm proud to tell you that we're getting some very good officers. The spike of interest in police work, the number of people at the academy, it goes up, it goes down all the time. What pleases me the most is we're recruiting very hard, and we're getting people who are younger and older, experienced, not experienced, male, female, people of color. So we're getting a lot of interest in the department. We're authorized for 106 sworn, and we can't never quite get there. It seems like we get close and then we get some retirements or something, but that's our authorized strength is 106. We had a few retirements during the year. Assistant Chief Matt Kane on the left, he's now the police chief in Berkeley, and Assistant Chief Dave Stash retired with 32 years of service. He now works for the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office as a special investigator. We are trying to really hard again to, one of my biggest jobs as a police chief is to get the right people in the department all the time. We've been holding recruitment nights, and one of the officers we just sworn in and is just a few weeks back was actually someone who attended one of our recruitment nights. Community connections. One of the things I'm going to show you now, real quick hits on a lot of slides going through the end of the presentation, are just some of the things that we do. When I was first police chief back in 2010, we had to become much smaller. We actually became 23% smaller, and I had to reduce a lot of programs and things. Right now, every police officer is a community policing officer. And it actually kind of works out better, because I think back how it used to be. We'd have we had crime prevention officers and people, it was their job to go out and do officer friendly, and it was their job to go out and do this. Now it's all the officers do this. So I want to just show you the ways we're trying to build trust, guardian mindset, and connect with the community. I've been asked a couple years in a row to do presentations for the Michigan Municipal League and talk about how we're doing things in Farmington Hills, our community connections, community policing program, showing the rest of the state of Michigan some of the things that we're having success with. We participate in something called ALLPACT, Advocates and Leaders for Police and Community Trust. Once a month we get together with federal, state, local agencies, community, church groups, ACLU, and we talk about some of the policing problems that we face today. This is a meeting that we hosted in Farmington Hills at the Caustic Center. This is a meeting at the top left, and you can see me up there with Chief Cade on the right from Livonia and Chief Craig from Detroit, talking about how we can bring the whole southeast region together in community policing efforts and connect and serve the public. Some of the ways we outreach, the My Family Services, this is the banquet we attended. My Family Services, very active in the Asian Indian community regarding domestic violence and different things. We appreciate the support we get from the faith community, always being invited to different recognition services and different things. We connect regularly with our 4 local mosques and have a very good relations with them. This is Oakland Hills Community Church, where there's a Law Enforcement Appreciation Sunday, and we raise every year about $7,000 to $10,000 for police officers that kind of fell through the cracks, are in wheelchairs, or having a tough way to go. This is connection with one of our local mosques again. This has really been popular the last couple of years, trunk or treat. I'm always looking as chief, how do we connect with the most people, the quickest, shortest time for the least amount of money that we can keep doing things. Giving candy to kids are really popular, so anywhere, if you have a trunk or treat, if you invite us, we'll come and we'll give out candy and meet the kids. We did this all over the city last year. Know Your Neighbor Night, these are sponsored by the Farmington Public Library. Every time they have a diversity event or something, we go up there and interact. We're pleased to partake in the Martin Luther King walk and celebration every year. Brings out a lot of members of the community, always great speakers at the library. If you haven't been there, you'll never be disappointed with the different speakers. Laser tag. This is all police and firefighters that connected with the kids in an event at the ZAP Zone with area teens. Interacting with military veterans. Officer Jennifer Sauer on the left does some hunting with veterans, and we made a presentation down at the American Legion. This is something we do for military veterans who are flying to Washington, D.C. We give them an escort to the airport. Connecting with Blue Star Mothers, Heritage Park, a monument that was dedicated. Youth Career Days, we're running a couple of these, and these are fun. We spend the whole day with the kids and we expose them to police work and evidence tech work, and hope that we inspire in them maybe an opportunity to pursue police careers, and if nothing else, just a positive day to help relations between police and young people. School appearances remain popular. That's actually one of my favorite pictures in the presentation we have this year, all the kids and their smiles and colors and different things. And that's Officer Saad there actually is a very good story. He was actually born in Bangladesh. A couple of our officers now, we have one who was born in Bosnia, and Officer Saeed was his early years were in Bangladesh, and he wanted to be an attorney, and when I first met him, he was a police service aide, and he said he didn't want to be a police officer, he wanted to be an attorney. He was going to be here a couple of years to be a police service aide, and here he is. He's one of our finest, working hard out there. Again, connecting with the community. This is the Muslim Community Mosque up on 12 Mile. We've had an annual picnic, community picnic now, where the police officers play volleyball against the kids, and it's a good time. I recognize some of you out here today who have attended that picnic. Youth Turnaround Awards, this is something we do with Farmington Public Schools. We get together with them and we sponsor a banquet, and we recognize every year about 25 young people throughout our school system who've turned their kind of lives around with academics or problems in their personal life. Operation Goodie Bag at the library. These are young people that honor police officers, and we're happy to interact with them. We participate in the area light parade in downtown Farmington. We volunteer at all the schools for student mock interviews, so police officers help young kids, young people and students who are thinking about interviewing for jobs and job skills and how to interview. Just showing that we don't always save people, sometimes animals as well. Neighborhood Watch, that would be you, very active. We really appreciate the support that we get from, and we really do, by the way, enjoy the support. The officers know that this community is more supportive for their law enforcement than any. We have 2 millages out there, which we appreciate, and and the support that you give us is just incredible. Our Mayor Massey honoring the police officers' recognition in National Law Enforcement Week. We received some recognition from Community Mental Health. Every police officer in the department last year went through a mental health training for an entire day. Take Back Initiative, if you don't know it, our drug box is available 24/7. Anytime in the police lobby, the command desk, you can come in. A couple times a year we do a special promotion where we just advertise it, and just advertising it a little bit for 4 hours, this is what we get. 156 pounds of prescription drugs in a 4-hour period. So we're keeping a lot of prescription drugs out of our waterways as well, and also from not being diverted from medicine cabinets and things. We just had a couple cases recently where someone was diverting medicine from medicine cabinets. These are some drills we did at Beaumont Hospital where we prepare for the worst kind of things, active shooters or things that we may face. We practice regularly. We're very active with our multicultural, multiracial community council. We meet once a month and sponsor different activities. We stay very involved and connected. We have police officers from Farmington Hills assigned to the Drug Enforcement Administration consortium, and we attend diversity celebrations with them. Station tours, you can see some of the pictures from events, always a good time. Hate Crimes Conference up in Lansing, we attend that every year, and we meet a lot of our residents up there and interact with them. Serving meals to seniors at the Caustic Center, again the prescription pill take back. We've been trying this a little bit the last couple of years that we go on the road. Some of these senior centers or places where people can't get out, we try to go to them and collect the prescriptions. Farmington Youth Assistance Breakfast, we support them also. They also do a lot of counseling for troubled youth in our community. That's Chief Unruh, our fire chief on the left, who took some heavy hits with pies. What you can't see there in this fundraising effort is the kids from the summer camps. The kids just sit there and just howl at all all these pies being thrown. That's me on the right. I was pretty fortunate. Battle of the Badges blood drive that we do every year. Community appreciation, which I kind of also mentioned already. We really do appreciate the support we get. And this is the crime mapping that is available to you now. You can go onto the map and find Farmington Hills. You can find your neighborhood, and you can click on, and you can see some data and kind of see some of the things. And this is updated. I don't really remember, but I know it's within 24 hours. Our Columbus and computer systems update data quite regularly, so this is not live time, but it's very close to it. And to get to crime mapping, if you go on our website, if you look at the arrows way on the left, if you go into the city website and click on the police website, you can see those yellow arrows. We also have a sobriety court program that we're very active in, and we're very, very proud of that. The recidivism rate is really high no matter what data you look at. It's usually about 65% of drunk drivers get arrested again. Our sobriety court program has at least probably a 95% success rate, and people really turn their lives around. They have to work very, very hard to get through a very intensive program. Torch run that we do to raise money for Special Olympics. That's coming up again on 14 Mile. And scholarships for students. And didn't realize this until just recently, this picture that you're seeing, both those young men who received scholarships to help them with the police academy, they are both now Farmington Hills police officers. And we have a golf outing every year that raises money for officers who are hurt or injured in the line of duty. We do Heroes and Helpers every year. You can see all that group of kids out there in front. We go on a shopping spree with all of them for about $250. And what's really interesting every year is what really touches me is sometimes you might think kids with those baskets just run to the toys or run for something themselves. And it's really interesting to see what they purchase in the checkout. They have things for their moms and dads and grandpas, and it's amazing. They shop for everybody. And then sometimes you say, you think about the need of the children. Like one little guy last year, he had a shopping cart filled with laundry soap and Scott towel and just things we might take for granted in our homes. You see, how his mind was working, what they need at home. Take part in parades every year. I see our Mayor Pro Tem there with lace around his neck. Our Mayor Pro Tem, Rich Lerner, I saw you come in if you want to just be recognized so you know we get great support from our Mayor and Council, Mayor Pro Tem Lerner. He's everywhere and never misses an event. Goodfellows, you can see some of the numbers. I won't read them to you. It's a great event every year where police and firefighters and different members of the community deliver packages to the needy folks around the holiday time. We have one of the few high-risk domestic violence response teams in the state of Michigan. We have our courts and prosecutors and judges and detectives plugged in. We assess people who are arrested for domestic violence and help the judges set bond and tethers and things, and we put in no contact orders immediately in our computer system so that people stay away from each other until it's appropriate again. Team Farmington, Farmington Hills, a Relay for Life. We participate in raising money for cancer every year. This is a picture of the CPAC. It's our Crime Prevention Advisory Committee. This is a group, it's actually larger than the people depicted in the picture. This is a group that I get together with regularly throughout the year. And these are people from business and schools and government and prosecutor and attorneys and people from all over the community. And we talk about various issues. It's kind of like my helpers steering committee. They tell me what's right, what's wrong, recommendations, things that might need to be changed or needed, things we could do better. And Drugs 101, a program that we do every year up at North Farmington High School. And our mission statement, we're committed to maintain the safety and quality of life through delivery of superior services without prejudice or partiality. And keys to our success are all the people that work for the department, so hard to serve, and all of you, our community support and folks in the community, and very special support from our community leaders as well. Again, we really are blessed from the community, from our city officials. All the support we get is second to none. That's one of the reasons we have all this success, some of the things that I've been able to share with you. So I think the rest is just some pictures. That's really the end of the annual report.
Well, good evening. Thank you for being here. Everyone hear me okay? All right. I have kind of a loud voice. So first off, I want to say thank you for being here. My partner, Monica Kolar, my name is Heather Bowman. We're crime prevention technicians here at the City of Farmington Hills Police Department. Some of the things I want to talk to you about tonight, my partner and I are going to kind of go back and forth, talk to you a little bit about the top five home security tips. So people are always asking us, which alarm system should I buy? What should I do to keep my home safer? We're going to touch a little bit on that tonight. And I want to start off with something that sounds really obvious, but believe it or not, the chief touched on this too, is one of the most important things you can do to keep your home safe is to lock your doors. Now, I know that sounds kind of crazy. I mean, do most people lock their doors? By show of hands, who locks their doors when they go to bed at night? Okay, I do too. I live in the country and I lock my doors. The only thing that's breaking in at my house are raccoons. So, but I will tell you, some of our burglaries that we do have are through slider doors that are unlocked, that don't have burglar bars to prevent that door to open. Some of our larcenies from automobiles happen in the driveway, as the chief mentioned, because the doors are unlocked on that vehicle. And let's say you were busy bringing the children in or the grandkids in and you left your purse in the car. So the most obvious thing is to lock your doors. And we just ask that you'll just, before you go to bed at night, before you leave your home to go anywhere, just double check that. Because believe it or not, that's a huge deterrent. So anytime we can beef up our locks on our doors, if you live in a home that's perhaps a historic home, an older home, one of the things that you can do for that property is to update your locks. And we suggest that you update with a nice deadbolt, a viewfinder in your door so that you can look out to see who's knocking on your door. Obviously here in the city of Farmington Hills, you're not allowed to solicit without a permit. Does everybody know that here in Farmington Hills? If someone's knocking on your door from wall side windows and they haven't gotten a yellow permit with their picture on it from the city, that's illegal. You can call us, we'll take care of it. We'll come out and make sure those people are removed from your neighborhood. The other thing I wanted to mention to you too is, do your doors have steel strike plates? So where the lock catches in, is that steel? Are your doors hollow core? Are they solid wood or are they steel? Preferably they be steel or solid wood. So those are some very simple things that you can look at in your home currently that it will beef up the security of your home. Right now, Monica's going to talk to you a little bit about lighting.
Hi, everyone. So I'm just going to talk quickly on lighting. So how many here have dusk to dawn lighting? Show of hands. All right, quite a few. How about, do we have any motion lighting? All right, those are all great things to have. How about, have we all switched out our light fixtures to LED lighting? No.
No.
Well, it's something that we do suggest. It's obviously up to the individual, but it's something that we do suggest. Not only does it save on your billing, but it also does provide a clearer lighting aspect for the home. And make sure that you do place the lighting in specific areas, like your front doors, your main entry points and exit ways. And that's really, we all know that, let's just face it, in the evening hours, we want to make sure that before we go to bed, if we don't have our dusk to dawn, that we switch on our lighting and make sure we have those motion lightings as well on the garage doors and in the backyards and everything to make sure everything is well lit around the house. Now Heather's going to touch base on our next topic.
So landscaping, along with lighting, as you can imagine, criminals are looking for concealment, right? They're looking for bushes to hide behind, dark yards, dark alleyways, anywhere that they can commit that crime and not be seen doing it, obviously. Nowadays, we're very thankful that a lot of you citizens have those fantastic surveillance cameras, because we get some great footage from you folks when we do have things that happen. But the main thing that we would tell you is when you're taking stock of your landscaping, I know fall being here, most of us are thinking about trimming down our perennials and things like that. We suggest that bushes be no higher than 3 feet. It's a little bit hard unless you're very small like I am to hide behind something that's 3 feet. Your trees, that they be trimmed up 6 feet so you don't have pine trees where someone could conceal themselves behind that. Try to trim those trees up if you can. And then one thing to keep in mind is tidy landscaping tells someone that you care about the property. So it also lets them know too that you're willing to defend that property as well. So that's one thing I would just say, don't give thieves a place to hide in the dark or behind heavy treed landscaping that covers your entryways to your home. So every now and again, Monica and I will drive the neighborhoods of the city, and sometimes we'll come across a home that has this big ominous tree over the front door or over the door wall, and that's the very first thing we point out to each other. Is we always say, that'd be a great place to hide if I were a thief and I was looking to break in after dark. So that's something just for you to kind of be mindful of as we're going into fall and you're trimming things down for the season. So another thing I want to talk to you a little bit about today are alarms. How many people have alarms on their homes? So quite a few of you. Okay. Have you registered those alarms with the City of Farmington Hills Police Department? You have a question, or you have? Yes. Fantastic. Okay, wonderful. So the city ordinance states that you have to do that, and I will tell you it's not because we want to be nosy, it's because if something happens at your house, we want to know who we can call. We want to know if you're out of town, who is the key holder, who is the individual that we need to contact to let them know, hey, there's been a broken window at your home, or there was an attempted burglary in your home. So one thing that we just ask that you do if you haven't registered that is that you do so with the records department. It's on the second floor of the police department. They're open 8:30 to 4:30, and they're extremely helpful. So we also ask that you designate 1 to 2 people, to be preferably more than one, to be key holders for your alarms, so that in case you're in Europe or something, there's one other person we can get a hold of to let them know. So to touch on alarms, how many have dogs in this room? Dogs? Okay, great. Dogs are great deterrents. I'm not advocating you go out and buy a dog, so please, spouses, don't get mad at me for that. But I will tell you that a barking dog is a great deterrent, especially if it's a large dog that could potentially present a problem for that person if they enter your home uninvited. So something to think about as well. We're going to kind of round out our conversation with you here, talking a little bit about security versus surveillance cameras. So I'm going to let Monica bring it home, and then if we can answer any questions for you, we're going to hang out after, and we'll also provide you business cards. If you'd rather call us at our office, we're happy to help you at any time.
So quick show of hands, who has surveillance or security systems at their home, at their residence? All right, quite a few people. I know the Ring doorbell, there's a lot of great systems out there that have become extremely popular. So really there's just a minor difference in between the two, surveillance and security. So your surveillance camera is essentially the camera that is always recording, whereas your security camera is the camera that is activated when they sense motion. So there's a lot of difference, and then there's also the hardwire versus your your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, your all technology savvy sort of cameras. So it really does, they do differ in price ranges, but it's always great, and we're seeing a lot of cases where, you know, cameras are being used so that you can find either a suspect information or, you know, a vehicle to look out for. It is something that we are utilizing, and we're noticing more people are utilizing it because it is becoming more affordable and definitely more popular. And then that's essentially all that we have to talk about today. But
We
we'll
don't
be-
recommend any particular kind of camera, so you know, if that's something you're uncertain of, we recommend you talk to the technology experts. Go and speak with somebody who knows everything about the wide variety of cameras that are out there. But I'll tell you something right now, we're getting some great footage from some of these cameras. You know, when packages and things are stolen off the front porch and people have a camera pointed at that, believe it or not, we're getting some really good footage from a lot of these. So if you're thinking about it, it is something to consider. I mean, you can get them for as little as $300-400. I hear Costco's got a package of them for that price. So something to consider for the future. I know I'm doing it at my house. So
Well, everyone, thank you for attending.